I had to go to a Spanish school and it didn't quite fit in. And that's where I got my first introduction to drugs, to that environment. And that's really where that then become a bit of a trait of mine, taking drugs to fit in. Thing was, my addiction was so long that when you go into a situation like this, I damaged myself mentally. I can describe it as it was a living hell. I met with someone very close to me and he told me about this magic potion called Ayahuasca. That's where my life started to change. This drink is conscious. It takes you into realms, into spirit realm, properly connects you to the source. And there was all these different types of spirits were coming up to me, like these children that passed away. So I drank it and I opened up my eyes and there were two beings sat either side of me and there was one in front. So it was a shadow, but you could see through them, but they were defined enough to, you could make out that they were sat down. And the one in front of me was trying to get my attention. It was like shaking its hand at me. It wanted me to get close to the floor. Yeah. So I started to get close and I was like, I'm the founder of CIC, which is Wales's first non-profit plumbing heating company. Nanny Biscuit, which is a community organisation named after my nan, because she used to sneak us biscuits. And a Welsh national event that we're building called A Grand Week in Wales. But none of this would have been possible without the journey that I've actually been on to get me to this point. If there's two companies out there offering the same product, similar price, similar reputation, but one is helping your local community, who would you use?
James, welcome to SQFT-Stories.
Thank you for having me, cheers.
Well, thanks for making the trip down. Where do you come from, Wales?
North Wales, right on the border of England, so we're northeast Wales, so about 6 miles away from Chester. So 5 and a bit hours on the train, but
it's a long way, mate. Thanks
it's all
for
good.
coming.
No problem at all.
I'm really looking forward to this one. So this is, like I was saying before, this is slightly different because of the story element behind your journey, I suppose, through life, and then making you into construction industry. So I'm really intrigued in the before and obviously what you're up to now. So I usually start it at the start of the guest construction journey, but I think we should go a little bit further back because I think there's a good little story there. So do you want to just give us a little bit of background about you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm the founder of CIC, which is Wales's first non-profit plumbing heating company. Nanny Biscuit, which is a community organisation named after my nan, because she used to sneak us biscuits. And a Welsh national event that we're building called A Grand Week in Wales. But none of this would have been possible without the journey that I've actually been on to get me to this point. So, so do you want me to
I want to all my
delve in? So, childhood-wise, like up until 10, I had probably, it would be classed as a privileged childhood, really. My mum and dad had a nice house, went to a nice school, and things were very normal for us. And then my parents moved to Tenerife when I was 10 years old. So from there, really, there was just a series of events that went on to shape my life into the journey that I went on. So we went from obviously being in an English school and having lots of friends and being able to speak the language, to go into a Spanish school where I couldn't speak a word. And, there was a bit of bullying went on, stuff like that. Didn't quite fit in.
Not because you couldn't speak the language.
Yeah. It was a full-on nightmare for my parents. It was like the thing from hell. They went out to look at a bar. It was going to be in the bottom of a hotel, and the guy was in contact. This is before the internet, so we couldn't just check in. This is like 1990.
Life before the internet.
Yeah. And so they had a good relationship with this guy, and basically he's like, come over, it's all finished. And I can remember moving over there. Dad sold everything, and we got there, and there we went, and it was a building site still. Like 2 weeks after they were there, the building stopped. No. So my mum and dad's dream was obviously in tatters. My dad's very industrious, and he started to sell the builders beer to make a bit of money, stuff like that. And then like I say, we had to go to a Spanish school, and it didn't quite fit in, and that's where I got my first introduction to drugs. So I think I was 11 at the time, and
that's early, isn't it? Really young.
Yeah, and it was weed, and so I smoked a tiny bit of weed with these Spanish lads, and suddenly they were my friends, So I made friends, and as a kid, you're very adaptable and resilient. You find ways to adapt, to your environment, and that's really where that then become a bit of a trait of mine, taking drugs to fit in and stuff like that. So
I suppose when you're that age and you're in a different country, not speaking the language, in a different school, getting bullied, I suppose not suggesting it's right, but it's a way to fit in with different people. And build a persona around it.
Absolutely. And it wasn't extreme bullying, but we were different, and I was made to feel different. So that was just a way that fit in. Then got to 12, and I had some English friends near where we lived then, down in sort of Costa Adeje, it's called now, San Eugenio. And I went to my friend's house. I was 12, and his dad was a dealer. I didn't know this at the time, but I went into his kitchen, and on top of his fridge was a huge rock of cocaine. Didn't know what it was. Just knew, it was naughty. Probably seen it, on a film or something. So I just took it and I run to my friend. My friend was a bit older than me. He knew what it was.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of lines, and 12 years old, and that was really what that did for me, was just remove. I wasn't addicted to it there and then, and I didn't take it for quite a long time after that. But what it did do was remove the fear of taking coke at a really, really young age. And then my parents, I started to go off the rails big time. My parents moved back pretty much because of me.
When you say off the rails, like, to what extent are we talking?
I was just doing stuff that 12-year-olds shouldn't do. Drinking, smoking, sniffing coke, smoking weed, having sex. It just, and it happened over a very, very. I went there as a very innocent 10-year-old, and within 2 years, that had happened. So. Obviously my parents, and things weren't that good with the bar and that, so I think I was the final sort of nail in that coffin to come home. And then what I found when I come back was I just, like my best friends that were in school, I changed that much that I didn't fit in with them. So I was rejected by them, and I just made friends in the new secondary school over there by smoking weed. So, and then my parents moved from there. We moved up to North Wales, where we live now. So this is down in Reading. This is where I'm actually from. So we moved to North Wales, and drug taking just become a part of who I was. It was just constantly smoking cannabis, and then get to like 15, and then it starts turning into speed, and then 16 it was pills, getting in the clubbing scene early, and I'm just one of them. Like when I do something, I go all in on it. So it's it was just every single weekend, and eventually it got to sort of 18, 19 where we were allowed in pubs. Couldn't really take pills in pubs because you're just a bit of a mess. So coke come back on the scene. And cocaine and alcohol for me, I can't do one without the other. Like if I'm drinking, I'm going to be sniffing, and vice versa. So I'd say probably within when I started to get back into coke, within 6 months I was addicted.
Right, and then is that like everyday usage addiction, or?
Well, no, so at first it was just a weekend, having a good time. And don't get me wrong, I had good times on it, But then it wasn't just a weekend. It was I couldn't wait. So it'd be a Wednesday. And then it'd be.
Would it like slowly creep? Tuesday, Monday, and then.
That's exactly what happened. It got to the point where I was taking it by myself. On my own, in secret, in the house, every single day. At my worst, I was sniffing like an eighth a day. I spent a lot of money.
I was going to say as well.
I was a very good cocaine addict. I was pretty effective at it. And I just got locked into that cycle of, feeling like shit as soon as I wake up. And then sniffing to get out of that. And then, it just become...
Was it like a constant cycle?
Yeah, it just become every day, all hours of the day. And then get to sleep, I would just be drinking as much as I could to help me get to sleep. So, you're wired and you can't sleep.
Do you mind me asking you something? So obviously you were addicted to alcohol then, I suppose, and drugs as well.
Yeah.
Did you ever, whilst you were addicted, did you ever think to yourself that you were addicted to these things? Or was it something where, or did you, almost what I'm trying to ask is, did you ever think like, I kind of want to get out of this? Or did you ever come to the realisation that you actually were addicted to drugs and alcohol?
Yeah, do you know what? I think I thought I was having a good time.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how far how far and how deep I was actually into it. And yeah, it just led me down a path. I mean, it destroyed me, like I went bankrupt. There was, I was doing stuff that I'm definitely not proud of to fund it, I stole off my parents. And, they've always stood by me. Like, I've got an amazing family. Very, very lucky. Especially my wife. So we had our first child very early. We were 18. And I was so lost. That's the only way I describe it. And I would say when I got to 24, it wasn't fun. I started 24, 25. I started to get like drug-induced psychosis, thinking that people were following me. If I'd see a helicopter, I'd be absolutely convinced that helicopter was following me.
Oh, really?
I've ripped skirting boards off walls, thinking there's cameras behind it.
Oh, wow.
Constantly window switching. I used to think people were following me around shops. The only way I can describe it is it was a living hell. But I'd made so many bad choices that off cocaine, my life was hell, like I'd just made so many bad decisions and so many bad choices and hurt so many people that it was the only way I could escape, and the paranoia was better than being me.
What, so like that being paranoid was better than actual reality itself?
Yeah. So as soon as I'd wake up and let's just say I didn't have any coke on me, which was rare, the reality of all, because what cocaine and alcohol did for me was help me bury everything down.
Yep.
So, like it's forced happiness, it's like, it's not even happiness, but it just completely blocks everything out about my life. The only thing, like I would just be consumed by that paranoia, but that was better to me than realizing that I had to face up to what I was doing in my life. So the answer to that is, I did know I was an addict. And I think my first real step to get out of that was joining the army. I was like, I've got to get away. My wife says I had an early midlife crisis. Joined the army when I was 30. It was a midlife crisis, but not in that sense. It was, I had to do something to get away.
And were you still on drugs and alcohol when you went into the army?
Yeah, right up to pretty much the week before. So I rocked up, out of shape, 30 years old. So bearing in mind, the average joining age is it's teens.
Yeah.
So rings run around me, but I was, my fitness let me down.
Yeah.
But apart from that, everything else in training, I was good at. I had a good shot. Didn't give any jip to, I didn't answer back. So I was a bit more mature in certain ways. Everything else, it was just my fitness that let me down. And it was strange. So as soon as, bearing in mind before that, I couldn't go a few hours without thinking, and what it'd do for me, despite knowing that I wanted to get off it, the second that a craving come in, I just feel it in my heart, just intense energy in my heart. And the only way I can describe it is like having horse blinkers would come up, where I just couldn't see any other outcome. Like, it wouldn't even let me think about not going. It was just complete tunnel vision, laser focus to get that. Nothing else would come in. That would only come when I'd come down, you know. But when I joined the army, it was the first time really in my life that I had proper structure. And I was undiagnosed then, but like, I've now gone on to find out that I've got, you know, crazy ADHD. So the structures, you know, is everything. That's something that I'm still kind of learning. But in the army, like, you know exactly where you are, what you've got to do, what you've got to wear, you're fed, you know, and not one single craving. The whole time I was in the army, not one single craving.
I was going to ask that.
Not in the army whole, but in the training, zero. And because everything's novel as well, you know, you're just doing loads of cool shit as well. The army training's amazing. I really, really enjoyed it.
What was it like? So obviously you were addicted to drugs and alcohol, and you went through that long journey up to 30 years old. You went to the army. What was it like going into a different, like, community and a different persona of person? Because you've lived by that point like 16 to 18 years of a person that's kind of like a drug addict and takes drugs and suppressing, you know, the real world. What was it like going into this, you know, this like environment of people that's just completely different?
So training, I loved it. And, you know, I obviously I passed out, and then went to battalion, and I was fine, you know, there. I think during the 2 weeks that we had off mid, I had a little blowout. I think that's an Ibiza.
Classic.
So I say a little blowout is Ibiza. And then, when I joined, I had constant injuries. So the thing with the army is, like, especially new lads, like when you first join, you're called a crow bag. And, you know, like...
What's a crow bag?
It's combat recruitive war, so it stems back from, you know, war times. But you're called a crow bag. It's like, you know, it's like a derogatory term. You call them the new lads. And you have to earn your place in there, you know, which is... I get it. Like, I mean, you're in there with warriors, essentially. You know, you got to earn your place. And I was just constantly injured. Like, I turned up and I had a torn hamstring in training. So I come straight away with an injury, so that's not good. You know, you don't look good. And I just had a series of injuries that's kept on happening. And because of that, you know, like the hierarchy, you know, they don't like you. You know, you're just a nuisance to them. And then, you know, like the lads are brilliant. You know, there's I miss a few of them. You know, they're great lads. But there's also a few that aren't. You know, they're just. Well, like anywhere you go.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
You know, idiots. But actually, I'm going to cut that bit out.
Of course.
yeah, they're all right. So, you know, you know, I just, for me personally, I didn't think that I fitted in right.
Yeah.
And thing was, that my addiction was so long that when you go into a situation like this, you know, I damaged myself mentally. You know, like I had zero resilience. You know, my resilience was cocaine and alcohol. So, and then that started to really unfold. And, you know, I fell back into it.
What, whilst you were in the army?
Yeah. So we were based over in Germany, which was lucky for me because you didn't really have that many drug tests over there. And then, it's just injury play. So, like, you know, maybe a lot of it was in my head. But I just felt like I didn't fit in. And that just drove me, you know, I just started to drink. I used the same mechanism that I've always used to escape my anxiety, and that was to drink and you know, take drugs. Anyway, I managed to get myself fit for Afghan. That was in 2013, here at 19. And at first, like, I was smashing it over there, like, and I was... rebuilding my reputation for the first part of it, you know, like I was just getting praise all the time, but I was on like comms and the signals, like making sure all of our warriors, you know, and like my name was getting mentioned a lot during the thing, so that was great. And then I sustained a back injury over there. I was sent back to Camp Bastion for 5 weeks. Sent back out to the front line again. And we went out on a 10-day up, and it just relapsed badly, and that injury actually went on to be life-changing. And I don't, again, maybe it was in my own head, but like I just felt that no one there believed, because I was just constantly injured.
Yeah.
It's like, here we go again. I mean, some people told me that they know that they're full of shit and call me Biff and stuff like that. And then so I was in Free Mercy, and we disbanded, and we moved back to the UK, went to Salisbury, and from there I was kind of mishandled. Like, our medical officer was away, so I was seeing medical officers from different battalions. And what should have happened is, because I was long-term injury, I should have been put into a recovery unit where you're seen and you go there to recover. Instead, I was put on like short-term sick repeatedly.
Right.
But with that, you get your chit, and basically you're confined to quarters. You're ill, not injured, if that makes sense. And I got seen when I was out on the chit, and I got bollocked for it. And I just thought this was normal. So I spent nearly like the best part of 9 months in my house. I was going out to do shopping and stuff, but I was just climbing the walls, and I just a spiral, really, really spiraled.
Got back into drugs and alcohol.
Yeah. Then I got moved into the RIU unit, and then I was eventually medically discharged. But that's where my life started to change, really. So
was that after the army? So is that when you left the army? Was it?
Yeah. So So just before. So I'd been discharged. I had an unexpected payout. I just had this chance conversation with a lad, because I forgot that I had insurance when I was in Afghan, and because it'd been a couple of years after, he told me, he goes, if you've been discharged because of your injury in Afghan, that insurance will pay you out.
Okay.
So I found out about it.
Result.
And got a payout. And it was just like divine timing. I actually believe that now. So in the build-up to me coming out, I met with someone very close to me, and he told me about this magic potion called Ayahuasca. And as soon as he said the word Ayahuasca, the only way I can describe it, getting it now actually, it's my whole body just filled full of this crazy. I've never heard anything about it, and my whole body just filled for this crazy energy, full on goose pimples. I've got it now, and I was just
what was in like that you really wanted to go and do?
It wasn't. I didn't even know what it was. So he said the word. As soon as he said I drunk ayahuasca, I had no idea what that was.
That's wild.
But my body reacted to that word.
Wow.
So I've now gone on to find that it's called the calling.
Okay.
So as soon as he mentioned it, my whole body reacted in this strange way. And after he told me what happened, I just could not. I was up. I mean, virtually full time obsessing over it. And then we got this money. My wife was pregnant with twins, but she wasn't too pregnant that I couldn't go. We were just about to move back. I had this just perfect window. So I was like, right, I'm going to Peru. And how
much does it cost to do it?
So I think the whole trip over there was about $6,000.
Yeah.
And then with that, you go to a retreat, and I was there for about 2 weeks. You do 6 ayahuasca ceremonies, a tobacco ceremony, which is disgusting. You drink tobacco and
it tastes rough.
Oh yeah, and you're sick. That's the whole point of it. So you're sick.
What to like?
To help you purge. Yeah. And then you do a San Pedro, which is a really tall, thin cactus. You would have seen them definitely, and that contains mescaline. But the ayahuasca is 2 different plants mixed together. So you have the ayahuasca vine, and then you have the DMT, so which a lot of people have heard about the aspect of it. So Chirema, which is a plant over there, and they basically brew it together. The ayahuasca vine allows because if you were to just drink DMT, you actually wouldn't feel anything. Your body would metabolize it before you feel any effects. But the ayahuasca vine does something to your stomach, so the DMT takes effect, and you go on, a 4-hour journey inside yourself, basically.
Yeah. So going on this ayahuasca retreat, what did you kind of think was going to happen, and what was your expectations of it?
I was going there for help with my addiction. Yeah, you know, like, but what I didn't realise was that I was going to embark on a spiritual journey at the same time. You know, I just researched and heard how much it helped people with buried trauma, and it was strange at that time. I didn't realise that I had trauma. You know, like for me, trauma was being in, you know, something horrific. You know, like where, you know, like and like with Afghan, you know, I didn't see, you know, hardly anything really compared to what the lads do see. You know, like I didn't fire my rifle. Our Sergeant Major got killed, but you know, Sergeant Major Fisher, I wasn't there for that. There's a suicide bomber, you know, detonating outside, but in terms of actual combat, you know, there was none of that. And I didn't really realise it, but there's certain aspects of my childhood that had traumatised me, you know, as a kid. And then the actual addiction itself, I didn't realise how much that had traumatised me. So you know, you go out there and
2-week journey, right? Out there.
Yeah.
So you have two experiences, did you say?
6 over there.
6, sorry. So 6 experiences, and do they take you on a different part of this ayahuasca journey, I suppose? Yeah.
So it's in the same place every. So essentially it's like a retreat centre in the jungle. And then they've got this. It's called a maloka. So it's just like a very large round, like a roundhouse, if you like. That, you know, you're still exposed to the elements, kind of. And you have a shaman in there, and he like pours it out, and then you drink it. The first time it doesn't taste bad. The second time you drink it, it's the most disgusting taste, man. It makes me feel sick just even thinking about it. It's so bad. It takes, you know, probably about half an hour, and then I start to see sort of geometrical shapes appear. And he actually told us that when you first take it, you might be tested by the ayahuasca to see. He goes, so if any demonic faces appear, just say you love it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. I had this demonic face appeared. Felt weird. I was like, I love you, and then it disappeared. And
what happens if you like? I'm only asking these questions because it's. I find it really interesting and intriguing. But like, what happens if you were to like not say that to it? Does that then lose the effect of what you get out of it?
So what they say is like basically if you show fear to that demonic face, you're not ready for what it's got to give you.
And then you won't get the experience.
So it could, like, you know, I know people that have just had demonic and it's got scarier and scarier. You know, it can be terrifying. You know, I've seen people really freak out on it.
Yeah, of course.
But for some reason, I just like the whole thing. I just trusted it. And you know, I like. It's hard for people to believe that this drink is conscious. You know, like it takes you into realms, into spirit realms, and you know, properly connects you to the source.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to put a disclaimer as well, because
go on.
I really, you know, as much as it might be interesting to people, do not do it because I'm going to tell you it cured, you know, like it helped cure my addiction. You know, psychedelics can be dangerous. You know, you have to do your own research, and don't blame me.
I know a couple of people actually through just who I knew when I was younger who have done psychedelics, but they weren't in the right time of their life to do it.
Yeah.
And it went terribly wrong, and they've ended up in mental institutes, etc.
Yeah.
So I do know a couple of people that's happened to.
Yeah. They're not, it's not to be messy, you know. You don't go there. Like there was one lad that went there for a good time, and it never even worked on him.
Yeah.
Just knew not to give him it. So it's strange how it works.
So obviously you went on that on the journey of the ayahuasca. And at the end of it, what was the difference compared to when you went in compared to when you come out?
So despite drinking the same drink every single day, every single experience was different. I mean, the first, I'll just touch on really briefly, and I'll explain the last night, because that's a really, really cool story. So the first night, I kind of saw the geometric patterns, and then I opened up my eyes, and I could see the shadow of this sort of lady, and it was a spirit, and she was coming up to me, and I could see there was a bottle in her hand, and she was flicking water, and I could feel the water. I was like, fucking fucking hell, it's real. And I could feel her touching, like going around me, touching me. So that was within half an hour. I was like, wow, this is serious. This is serious, yeah. And then the shaman started to say a prayer, and it was like there was something inside of me that did not like that prayer.
Yeah.
I started like, that prayer was horrible to me, and I was like getting really agitated. It just felt really, really uncomfortable. And then I threw up. As soon as I threw up, I felt a lot better. And really, that's all I really got from the first one. There wasn't, there was no, breakthroughs, but it helps, purges your body first, before you get to the good stuff. And my body needed a lot of cleaning. And then, there was just each one become a little bit more powerful. And I started to get the insights into my life, what I had to do, the people that, despite loving them, that I had to, let them go because, not because of them, but because of me and my relationship with them. I still love them, but at the end of the day, it was teaching me that I had to love myself even more. So they were, they were great insights, and then the last day, it's like I truly believe that ayahuasca knew as well it wasn't going to be the last time that I had it. And then on the last day, it was the shaman said, "Don't be surprised if she says goodbye to you." So I was like, okay, this is intriguing. So I drank it, and I opened up my eyes, and there were two beings sat either side of me, and there was one in front. So it was a shadow, but you could see through them, but they were defined enough to, you could make out that they were sat down. And the one in front of me was trying to get my attention. It was like shaking its hand at me. And I was like, oh God. So just ignore it, it'll go away. And it just kept on trying to get my attention. So I went, what?
Yeah.
And it went, ah. It started to point to the floor. So, it's like a telepathic communication. I just knew it wanted me to get close to the floor.
Yeah.
So I started to get close, and I was like on all fours, and it was like closer, closer, closer. So my face is like that to the ground, and the only way I can describe it is like this explosion, and a tiger, as real as what I'm looking at you now, jumps onto me, and I can feel the pressure of it on top of me, and I just know it's friendly, and it's just like polar bears, like any animal you can imagine, are just pouring out out. Sorry,
no,
makes me a bit emotional.
No, mate.
Every time.
Take your time, my friend.
Yeah, and like they were just like all these birds are like flying around me, like Ace Ventura, when he's like, ah. It was kind of like that. I had all these animals on me. It was fucking amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And then this huge praying mantis, its head just appeared to the side, started to talk to me telepathically. It was like, right, why don't you take your top off? So I was like, okay. So I took my top off. It was like, take your clothes off. And I was like, there's a praying mantis telling me to get my clothes off.
Sounds a bit wild.
I'm going to do it. So I just got naked, and I just lay on the floor naked, and it turned its head, and its tongue went into my stomach, and I could see this like blue sort of energy being sucked out of my body, and my body started to shake, and it was shaking quite violently, but it felt really, really good. I mean, I was full-on convulsions. I mean, to me, it felt like I was being levitated off the floor, and I looked up inside this room, and there were clouds inside the room. These two hands come through, and that his head, who I believe like was God, just looked at me, and it was just smiling at me. And yeah, it was just, I can just remember in my head just being, just like saying thank you, just like absolute gratitude.
Did you almost like feel free, I suppose?
Like, can't even describe it, yeah. The next day, it's the first time I felt probably alive in since I was 12 probably.
Yeah. And how old were you then when you went on the first one?
It was in 2016, so God, yeah, I'm getting old, yeah. So I was 36, yeah.
Wow.
I'm just coming up to 36. So, so, I went there not believing in anything spiritual.
Yeah.
To 100% convinced. Like, so during one of the nights, I heard this tiger behind me, or a leopard behind me. And when we come out and I was speaking to the lad, he was like, holy shit, I was like watching you earlier, and this leopard was walking right behind us. Like, what? You can see it there. It's like, crazy shit like that happens, People, you can see the same stuff.
Has that opened your mind up to just like...
Oh, God, yeah.
Alternative dimensions, I suppose, in this universe?
I think, what we perceive and see is a very, very small part of what is actually there.
So once that, by the way, like, thanks for sharing that, because that's obviously a really emotional moment, and I really appreciate that. So once that journey's come to an end and this ayahuasca, the 2 weeks, so like, where did that leave you in terms of, like, I suppose your career as well, because you've come out, you weren't in the army, right, when you come out of this ayahuasca?
No. So I was a gas engineer before joining the army.
Yeah.
So that happens, and then I'm clean and sober for 6 months, and then we moved back home, and then my wife gives birth and she nearly dies. She lost 6 pints of blood.
Oh wow!
Yeah, like it's a miracle that she's alive. Thanks to the staff at Chester Hospital. Now, what that did for me, obviously it got me on the right track, but what it didn't do for me is give me the tools to deal with stuff, like I was still, I learned from a very, very early age to bury stuff with drugs and alcohol. And this is actually something I'm still unpacking now, learning how to process emotions, and difficult circumstances without turning to something that will give me a temporary fix to hide away from whatever's going on. And I just couldn't deal with it, and that night, the night that they were born, I relapsed. Just could not, because it went from being the best night of my life to the worst. I was like, you kind of staring down the barrel of being a single dad.
Yeah.
Because I was with her, because the first baby come naturally, and then the second one got stuck, so it was emergency cesarean. And I can remember I left my wife to go and see the baby, and then I turned round.
Take your time, mate.
Yeah, it was like she was grey. And it was just blood all over the floor. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really horrible. And yeah, just, I just couldn't process it. And yeah, so relapse, and, typical addict, it's like, it's okay, it's only the once, don't give yourself a hard time. And then it happened again 2 months after.
What, relapse again?
Yeah, and then a month.
Yeah.
Then a week, and then every day again. And this is all in secret again. And by this time, like, I'd had that taste of freedom. So to be back in it was even worse, like the paranoia was just, oh God, it was next level paranoia. Because you're keeping it from secret, everyone. You're always paranoid, and like, it just like, it was just horrible. And I found a place actually in the UK that did ayahuasca. So I started to go. So and it's not the place that I went to there. It wasn't just the psychedelics. It was the people that I was meeting. Like it's totally different. Like in Peru, you kind of drink it and you're left your own. They don't help you through stuff, and you have a sharing circle. But over here, I just found like the community that come with it. That was something that I really, really needed. That was a big part of my recovery, was connecting with these people that were,
on a similar journey.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like you're all in there to be a better human, to heal from whatever it is that you're there for. And you know, I went every month for pretty much a year. And
what to the
retreat over here. Yeah, so it's like 2 ayahuasca ceremonies. I learned about energy healing, you know, which I used to think was a load of nonsense. I mean, you know, some of those experiences I had with an energy healer. I mean, I've never ever cried like it. You know, this lady, I was kind of stuck during one night, and she put her hands on me. I was like, okay, just go with it. You know, it can't help someone cuddling you. But she was doing energy healing. She was on my back, and I kind of closed my eyes. And it took me I was inside my chest, and I could see this little searchlight scanning me on the inside. And then I felt this cry, and it turned into, I was wailing, like all this stored trauma, you know, of being an addict. Or everything just come out in once. And my brother was actually with me, and like the cry that I did was that he didn't even know it. He couldn't even recognize it as, you know, my voice. When he looked over, he couldn't believe that. Just wailing. Yeah. So, you know, carrying that around with me, you know. So, and it really, you know, it really helped. However, there was another part of the journey that I had to go on, because I just couldn't, you know, I'd be fine for a few weeks, and like, if I'm going to be honest with you, it maybe become a little bit of a crutch. You know, I knew I was going to be going there next month. Yeah. And then I snapped every single ligament in his knee, so I couldn't go for a while. And another opportunity come up. I found out about another plant medicine called iboga, which is an African plant medicine. Now they in America they have ibogaine. I don't know if you've heard of ibogaine.
No, I
haven't. But they have ibogaine clinics actually. So they've synthesized it in America. So they can make money off it. And it's really good for addiction. So where ayahuasca kind of works on your sort of emotional body and store trauma that way, iboga works actually on the brain. So what I've come on to understand now is when you're addicted to stimulants, your baseline dopamine crashes. So you know, when you're artificially high, you have the crash. So it's that low that you're never really happy, and it's actually difficult to get it up there. Yeah, get it back up to what's classed normal. But the iboga actually does that. So it actually
reset.
Yeah, exactly that. So I went over to Gabon in Africa and stayed at a place called Abando, where I was to be initiated into the Fang tradition. You stay on a compound, and it's serious stuff. The iboga, you know, like it can, you know, like someone had died not too recent before I went there. It's very, very powerful. I mean, they're all powerful, but it's kind of next level, and you're embarking. And I never knew this really until I got there. But you are like you know, there's witch doctors. It's like it's
serious stuff.
Proper traditional, you know, like. So what they do there is they take you into the jungle. You have to walk barefoot into the jungle. And they've got this sacred pool, the first thing they do is they've got this tree, and they have these like shells, and they break the shell in half, so it's 2 shells, and they throw it on the floor, and the shells have to either land both like that or both like that. If they land like that, they're asking it questions, you see, whether or not they can do it. And if it says no, you can't do it. So you can go all the way there, and they say nah.
Oh, really?
So, and it kept on landing like that. Literally, we got to the last question that was allowed, and it was so beautiful. I've got it on camera. So this butterfly lands perfectly in front. The witch doctor says a prayer. He throws it, and then they both land like that. And that means give him as much as he can take.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, game on. And then they take you into a pool. They strip you naked, clean your body, and you come out. And then it's almost like a nappy. They treat you like a child. It's a rebirth ceremony.
Right.
You have this like a sort of crown of all sacred herbs, and then they paint your body with ash, so you're white, and have a red line coming down. And then for the next few days, they clean you 3 times a day. They've got a thing for the number 3. That's their number. You do a vomit ceremony, which is exactly like it sounds like. You do a smoke ceremony, so they dig the floor, and they set a little fire with all these sacred herbs, and you stand over the smoke with this big sheet around you, and it was the weirdest experience. So I could feel this things crawling at me and falling off, and we're in Africa, right? So I'm like, shit, what's and I'm looking down, there's nothing there. I'm doing that again, and I can feel this stuff. I'm like, there's something on me. And they're just like, it's your entities. I was like, okay, now what's going on? Like, you properly feel it. So that was that one. And then you do what's called the death ceremony. So that's basically where you go to die. The old you goes to die, and you're reborn. So, so I had an extremely high dose, so 20 doses of the Saboga. You get given you have a mother for the ceremony, so a lady, she just looks after you, because you can't walk, you're pinned to the floor, so you have that, and then the ceremony starts, and there's like, they've got harpists, they've got this other musical instrument. So the first actually corded instrument, it's a really big mouth harp, so they're playing that, and it's like the sounds that come off that. And they've got this huge fire, they dance around the fire, chanting, and it goes on all night. And that was just a crazy experience. So they come out and they put a mirror in front of you, and you can look into it if you want. I started to stare into the mirror, and my face turned black. So I was like, what?
Is that a little bit scary?
It was, but I was like, no, just look at it. So I looked into it, and I turned into a African tribesman, and it started to tell me that was my first ever human form.
Oh, wow.
And then it started to go through all these different bodies that I'd been, and it was just telling me, I'm a soul. This is a costume.
Yeah.
And I've been here many, many times before. So I was it showed me all these different tribesmen, and then I started to turn European. And at one point I had a king's, it was telling me I'd been a king.
Was it like taking you through your heritage?
Yeah, taking me through all the different bodies, the different lives that I've had. I told you it was out there. I had a crown of thorns on at one point, so it's saying at one point I'd actually been crucified. There's lots of grim stuff in there. And then it come to like, my current day, and then I had to lay down because it was really feeling the effects, and in the vision this kind of stream left my head, and it was the roadmap of my life. And I'd asked it to remove the cocaine addiction, but I'd also asked it as well, like I was just fed up of being angry, fed up of having so much hate for the world, and to remove any violent thoughts from me. And the first thing it showed me was these 2 pictures, the 2 heads of Spider-Man. One was black, one was red. And it's like, when you were 4 years old, by watching Spider-Man, you learned that violence was okay as long as it was for the good guys.
Oh, really?
And I was like, shit. And it's just explained, you've been programmed, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, it makes sense, I was.
Yeah.
And it just took me on this like journey of my life, and then basically just, without consciously doing that, bolted upright, and my hands had a life of their own. And the only way I can describe it, I suppose, was it's like spray was coming out of my hands, and I was just doing this crazy thing, and I just sprayed this golden palace. It's like just stunning. I mean, at this point, I'm just like, what? Wow. This is amazing. Yeah. And there was this parrot in there, and the place where we were, their parrot actually just died. It was an African grey parrot, And it was half it was really beautiful, and it turned round, and half it was dead. And it looked at me and just went, ah! And as it did that, the Golden Palace disappeared. And then I was just in like the spirit world, and there was all these different types of spirits were coming up to me, like these children like that passed away. It was nuts. And there was like this palm tree. The palm tree was real, but it was like death. The skeleton death was in there. His leg was tick-tocking. And he was telling me, he's like, this represents the pendulum of your life. One day, you're going to be here too. You know, that was like the tick-tocking of my life.
Yeah.
And then I looked up, and Jesus was on a cross, just right above me. You know, I'm not religious, so I didn't actually know, but the tribe, they worship Jesus. I didn't know that. And as I'm looking at the cross, this huge angel came down, and she put her hands out, and this golden light came from her hands. And like I literally felt the gold light penetrate my body, and there was a sharp pain in my heart. And it said, "That's it. We've reset. We've restarted your heart. You know, this is your new life." And again, you know, the only way it was like my soul was crying. You know, like I knew that I was free from it.
Yeah.
And from that point, I've never even thought about having a line of coke or drink again. It hasn't even been. Nothing. Gone. Completely gone.
Really?
Yeah.
That is incredible how that creates that. So, like, do you not even have, if you don't mind me asking, like, even if you're in the environment of it, does it not?
No.
No? No,
nothing.
Wow.
I drink non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah.
My wife has a glass of wine. I remember I smelt a wine once when I come out, and it just smells of despair.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like my body is adverse to it. You know,
what about like you, and you mentioned earlier as well, and I hope you don't understand, but what about like your hatred towards the world, I suppose, and is that gone?
I've got a peace sign in my hand now, you know.
What's that, sorry?
It's shaped like a peace sign.
Oh, a peace sign, sorry.
That's the Om. So it's a if you heard when people meditate, they go Om. Yeah. So that's a symbol for that. So it's a Hindu sign, and these are the different colours of your chakras. And don't get me wrong, I still get angry.
Yeah, of course.
Like I'm human.
Yeah, of course.
But from who I was, angry at the world, angry at myself, angry at everyone, that's gone. And yeah, so when I went there, you have to excuse me, I've got ADHD. I told you I got ADHD, so I might go here, there. So like before I went to Gabon, I started a community group called Nanny Biscuit.
Yep.
So Nanny Biscuit was my nan.
Yep.
She used to sneak me biscuits. So she died in 2017, and I set up Nanny Biscuit in 2018. We did a Christmas party for people that didn't have anyone to spend Christmas with. And what I noticed was from the September I decided to do it to the Christmas that we did it, I didn't think of my own problems once. So I was like, okay, this is good for me. I now know its purpose. So I started to do more community stuff. And when I went to Gabon, after I'd had all that experience, I was walking around in their temple. They've got a thing for walking around in anti-clockwise. So I just kept on doing that. I kept on repeating the same thing. Let me find a way so I can support my family, my community, and I've promised to help that place as well in Gabon. So I just said it over and over and again. Like I must have been walking around in a circle for an hour and a half. And weirdly, this exact same energy that I got when I heard of ayahuasca happened to me again.
Right.
And I was just like,
You almost thought it was like a calling.
Yeah, it's like someone's heard that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's when everything started really to fall in place with what I'm doing now. So when I come out, I just kept on getting gifts, you know, from it. Still, it's still talking to me, and you know, it's not a voice, but you just feel like you're being guided, you know. So I come back and I just writ down, right, what do I want? I want to find a way, and then I just had the light bulb moment. I was like, do you know what? I've actually got a really good trade. If there's two companies out there offering the same product, similar price, similar reputation, but one is helping your local community.
Yep.
Who would you use? I was like,
helping the local community.
Yeah, of course. You know, like, so I was like, wow, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I changed my for-profit into a community interest company.
So what does that mean for people who might not understand?
Yeah, so community interest company, I mean, essentially we operate like a for-profit company in that we charge our customers for a service. I get paid.
Which is plumbing and heating, right?
Yeah, plumbing and heating, yeah. I get paid. Everyone gets paid, you know. But the difference is it's asset locked, so you don't own, you know, I can't sell it. Well, I could, but the money wouldn't go to me.
Yep.
You're limited by guarantee, not shares, so you can't give away equity. And at the end of the year, whatever profits are in the bank, you have to give 50% back into the community.
Wow.
So, and at the time, you know, like that model worked for me.
Was it working almost like for you as a person as well? Was helping
absolutely, yeah. So I thought of this at the end of 2019. I was like, right, we'll launch this on May the 4th because I'm a Star Wars geek. That's the only reason why. But obviously the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So I think it got to about February, and I was just saying to my wife, like, no one's going to care. You know, we didn't have at that point, the only thing we had under our belt was a Christmas dinner. And I was just like, you know what? I don't think people are going to care. You know, there's a worldwide, it's coming out, like, where we were living weren't taking it. There was nothing being done, absolutely nothing being done in preparation for the pandemic. So I was like to my wife, I was like, look, I was fortunate, I had some money at that point. I had my money from the payout still.
Yep.
I was like, let's just focus on the nanny biscuit side of it. So that's what we did. We shelved the launch of the business, and I put a call to action out, to the local community, saying, look, we want to deliver food, do errands, and basically help people that are isolating, and put that out on social media. And within 2 days, we went from 3 volunteers to 70. Like, there's over 200 applications, and it was just the right people at the right time. You know, no one had work to do.
Yeah.
You know, we had experts come in for, you know, the website, digital infrastructure, and it just took off. And we basically, we delivered, I think it's 15,000 leaflets at first, local area. And at first we were going to the supermarket to buy them food, but you're getting ridiculous requests, you know, like it wasn't emergency. It was like, can I have a bath bomb?
Convenience.
Can I have some saffron?
Bath bomb.
Yeah, can I have some saffron so they can, it's like they're on Come Dine With Me, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and what we also noticed as well was that in the supermarket, people were looking at the food and putting it back.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going to become a delivery service for the for the virus.
Yeah.
So what we did then was accommodated like the local community centre. We bought a load of refrigeration and stuff like that, and we basically turned that into a food warehouse. And we had strict operating guidelines. Everyone was all masked up and all that. Yep. So we knew that we'd done our best. So that then became a delivery hub where we do emergency food only. And so that went, we delivered hundreds, if not thousands, of emergency food parcels. We went on to make a partnership with Money Supermarket. So their chefs were still in. So it's only supposed to go on for 6 weeks, where they cooked 100 meals a day, and then we delivered that. We went on to deliver, I think, 46,000 meals.
Wow.
That went on for over a year. Like, big up to Money Supermarket here. Like, they went well above and beyond. it was great to see a big corporation.
I was going to say, it's nice to hear that.
It is.
Because you hear the other side of big corporations, didn't you?
Yeah. And it was quality food as well, mate.
Yeah.
Like some of the people, bearing in mind, some of the people that are getting this, like homeless and people that, it was where I actually saw firsthand that food poverty was a real thing. I just never even heard of it before, obviously you hear of poverty, but I remember delivering something to a man, and he took the food in, and he opened up his shelves, and there was nothing inside it, like completely zero food. He hadn't eaten for 3 days.
Oh.
I was just like, how the hell is this even possible?
Yeah.
We're a first world country.
Of course.
And then you just start hearing more and more stuff like that. So that was where, really we started to become a food thing, a food thing, for want of a better word.
How long did that, so that was the nanny biscuit, right? How long did that last for?
I went on for, nanny biscuit's still going. So yeah. So but the actual, so we become an emergency food service. We set up a phone line for people that were lonely. So that went on. So, people volunteers were calling people on a daily basis. We did 4 COVID concerts, so playing music to care homes through the glass, or sometimes they'd let them sit outside. So we did 4 of them. That was really cool. We would do we found out, we've rung all of the care homes around us, got all of their birthdays. We were sending them cards, birthday gifts, just showing them that people were still thinking about them, from the outside. We did so much. It's hard to remember, to be fair. And then we did the first of something that I'm still building now. So we did an event called a Grand Week in Wales. So when we went into the second lockdown, obviously it wasn't just the vulnerable that were fed up. It was everybody. We had nothing that we could do as part of the community. So I was like, right. So I went and spoke to my team. I was like, look, let's think an event that we can get people partaking in safely. So after a bit of research, I found out that Wales was 1,000 miles in circumference. So 1,000, a grand. I was like, a grand week in Wales. So what we did, so we used 1,000 for the name, and then we also used it for a target for challenges. So what we were trying to do was look at how can we help people stay fit, help the environment, feed homeless people, get children involved. So we come up with a series of challenges around the number 1,000. So for the health and fitness, it was like we called it a virtual relay. So whether people were going for a run, in a wheelchair, a swim, you log your miles on our thing, and then the counter went to, and the idea was to get 1,000 miles out of everyone around Wales. Bags of litter. So, so everything's 1,000, you see? So feed 1,000 homeless people, 1,000 line poem. And we managed to get it all around Wales. Like within 6 weeks of the 4, we did it on St David's Day, and we managed to get it all around Wales. We got over 4,000 miles out of everyone. 1,000. I can't remember what the lit was, but we fed 1,000 homeless people. We had a couple of celebrity endorsements on it. Raised about 12 grand, and it just made me think, do you know what? I think we've actually got an event here, outside of the pandemic. This is actually really cool, because what happened was on the last day, the only one that was in was the miles, but then unbeknown to us, that schools actually were sent the poem out as part of their homework.
Right.
So and literally on the last 2 hours, they all come in. Except for the musical performances, we got 36. That was one thing. I'll touch on that again in a bit. So for me, the pandemic was actually
a good
best year of my life.
But it was into a really good thing.
It was the best year of my life. Yeah. And I say that knowing that it will come off the back of misery, but just being around those people for that year. In my first year of sobriety, just like I say, wasn't it? In the first year is always the hard. That's the one. That's the one. The milestone you want to reach, and it was just easy. Purpose.
Where did the CAF gas come into this then? Because that's also, you touched on it earlier, the community element, giving back, but utilising your trade obviously as a gas engineer. Where did that come into the...
Yeah, so what I did, what I've done is like Nanny Biscuit is actually, CAF gas is the body, if you like, is the governing body. Nanny Biscuit is an initiative that I run now from CAF gas. So CAF gas is what, the legal structure. So at the moment now with Nanny Biscuit, we've got 2 food pantries. So one of our volunteers, she came up with a great idea at the end of the pandemic. She heard about these food pantries. We were in that space. We knew we were already kind of doing it. So essentially they're like little supermarkets where we sell 10 items for £3. So they run at a loss. And then the idea is that when people use, if it's a low ticket item like a service repair, that will fund a bag of shopping,
right?
For either a struggling veteran or elderly person. If it's a large ticket item, then we donate a larger amount back into the but obviously you have to offset that with all the running costs and everything. Make sure we don't go bankrupt at the same time. And then I've also got other charitable partners that deliver impact. So the idea is that we want to scale the company, but we are.
How would you scale a non-profit company?
Well, I'm just about to go into this. So, at the moment, I'd say we've kind of reached the ceiling of what this community interest company can do. Because we are ambitious with it, and we also know we're going to need money to do it.
Of course.
And as much, like for me, the biggest pro of a community interest company is that it gives 50% back into the community. The biggest con of a community interest company is it gives 50% back into the community.
It's hard to grow it as a business.
Exactly that. It's like, it's very, very slow to do it organically. If you want the best people and if you want investment, you need to give bits of that company away. Not all the time, but it's not a good model to scale. So what we're looking at doing now is creating another company, which is for profit, but I say it's a profit for purpose.
Yeah, of course.
So if you can imagine, CAF gas CI still will still exist, but that will just purely be for free boiler repairs for veterans and elderly, with money that we're then going to either raise from a grant week in Wales, or when we're going to use CAF, it's going to be called CAF Energy Solutions, and that is going to be the growth engine. And so we want to provide a first-class service. We've got an excellent reputation, got some really good lads working for us, and we just want. My goal is to show people that there's actually a different way of doing business.
Yeah.
Social value is a big thing nowadays. Like a lot of local authorities, it's in their contract. You have to deliver something of social value. No one touches on that. That's what we do. That's our purpose.
A lot of construction companies who do have that in their remit use it as like a box ticking exercise. They pretend they're doing something.
100%.
I don't know if I should say that, but they kind of pretend they're doing it for the facade, so it looks like the box is ticked, and then they can move on.
100%. It's. I mean, to be honest with you, it's so blatantly obvious sometimes. Yeah. Like, I've seen another company set up a social enterprise under the guise that they're giving advice. I've got to be careful because I don't want them to know I'm talking about them. But really, it's just a lead generation.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
just lead generation. I'm like, you're not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
But so there's some really great B Corp companies out there. But what I find is a lot of the companies aren't actually delivering the impact themselves, which is fine. But my model is like, we want to collaborate. So the idea is like, let's just say when we go into Liverpool, it's not about me taking over and Nanny Biscuit comes everywhere. It's about finding the grassroots organisations that have gone through that trial. But it's so hard to set up non-profits. And have reliable volunteers. And we want to find these organisations, and then as our company grows in that area, we then help fund that.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we just then start to get bigger, start to find, and find these organisations. And basically, as we grow, the communities that we work in will grow with us. That's what we want.
What sort of like, so I suppose there's, you have government help, I suppose?
No.
Not at all?
No. No, I mean, I actually set the reason why I wanted the CIC in the first place. I just like the CIC model because it gives the public that trust, and you're governed. But what was important to me was that we're not reliant on grants,
right? Because
it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And plus I'm dyslexic and I hate filling forms out. So that doesn't appeal to me at all. So, but the idea is that it's sustainable. Like that has been my vision from the beginning. And at the end of the day, especially now, where people can't afford to donate, like you're basically taking money off. If you're a donation-based model, then you're essentially at the moment taking money off the people you're pretty much trying to help.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Like everyone's skint.
Yeah.
And you look how many fundraisers are out there, and it's saturated. And the grants, so many people are going for the same grant. The trouble with grants as well is like, I've got a very clear vision in mind what I want to do, and when you go for a grant, the majority of grants is like, this is what you've got to do with the money.
Right.
So you get mission drift, you're having to...
So they tell you what to do.
Yeah, so, so I know organisations that get grants and they're doing stuff that they don't really want to do just so they stay alive.
Of course.
So for me, that doesn't work, it's like, let's create a business model that earns millions of pounds and helps people, and we don't have to rely on grants. That's what I want.
No, kudos to you, mate.
Yeah.
So what's so that's kind of like the plans with the business. What's the plans with just you generally going forward? Because obviously you've been on one hell of a journey, mate. So like, what's the plans like personally for you going forward?
My biggest wish, I'd say, is peace. Which is crazy with what I'm trying to build, because I ain't going to be very peaceful. Is peace. Like that. Like I've just found breath work. Like I've always struggled to meditate.
Yeah, I struggle as well sometimes.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've started doing breath work, and that's been a game changer for me already.
What sort of breath work do you do? I've tried it before.
So I've got this. I follow a guy called Sandy. He's on
Breathe with Sandy.
Yeah, Breathe with Sandy.
Way.
Yeah, so I do that, and I'm on his Patreon now.
Oh wow!
And what I like about him, because he's got so many varied videos, so I get bored quickly if I'm doing the same one over and over. Like, so if I'm just trying to meditate and be quiet, I get really bored.
Yeah.
And ADHD brain. But what I like about him, there's so many different techniques that he's got, from calming yourself down, giving yourself energy, just like all these different techniques that I'm like, every day is a new one. And what I find is when I do the breath work, is at the end of that breath work, I haven't been thinking anything about anything else except for the breath. So my mind is clear, and then I can just settle myself, and straight away meditation is like a lot easier.
So you do that, the breath work before, then the meditation afterwards. I've just started. In fact, I did it this morning. The Breathe with Sandy.
Yeah, same here.
I haven't done loads of his videos. I've done a couple of them quite a few times, but I haven't explored his.
Yeah, get onto the Patreon. It's like 12 quid.
Yeah.
So I'm on that. If you're listening, Sandy, I want a referral fee. So
I don't want a free Patreon.
That's what we want, and and then do you mind if I just talk about Grand Week in Wales?
You go for it, my friend.
So since we did it that first time, it's gone on to grow, and like what I did was like I said, I was like, we've got a good idea here. So this year, we did it another 2 times, and what I did was, it's not, like I say, it's not about me. We want it to be a Wales-wide event. So for me, the impact has to be Wales-wide. So we've got, and we want to do, we're covering different topics, so we want different charities to be involved. So we've got Woody's Lodge, so they're a veterans charity in Wales. We've got Keep Wales Tidy and Green Paw, which are environmental charities. Obviously got Kafkas and Nanny Biscuit. We've got Ace Place in Wrexham, which is food poverty. And then we've got We Mind the Gap, which are a North Wales-based charity that help children that have fell through the education gap. This year we've got Flintshire County Council, our local authority. They've got involved. They've been really, really cool, and like they've put it out to the schools. So we've got loads of schools in the Flintshire area. We've got schools all around Wales that are taking part. We've got sports clubs taking part in it. So we obviously set challenges, but people can also set their own 1,000 challenge. So if you wanted to, you could do 1,000 burpees. Sound good?
Mate, not really, to be honest with you. Not right now. I played paddle this morning.
So you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So like different clubs can do different 1,000 challenges.
Yeah.
And they can either just take part or they can do it to fundraise.
Yeah.
But like the charities involved, you know, we want this to be like a Welsh Red Nose Day. Like we're going for it. And what I see this as actually becoming a national event that becomes highly sponsorable. You know, if we're getting into schools, sports clubs, businesses, there's a lot of data there, you know, and that's not why we're doing it, by the way. I just want to make that, you know, like we're doing it because I love doing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to raise money for all these charities. So like we've got this year we've got 2 crews, so it's on for a week. So we've got each day we've got a North Wales team and a South Wales team. Each team will visit 2 schools, a care home, one of the charities involved. And then at night time, we're going to be going to a sports club and then to hopefully a music venue that are doing events for us. So that's going from Monday to Wednesday. On the Thursday, we've got a huge river clean happening in Anglesey. Then on the Friday, we've got what's called High Five Friday. So it's going to start on the border of England where we are. We've got a load of businesses. They're going to come along. They high five each other, pass it on to someone on a bike. That bike then takes it to a school. They all high five each other, goes back to the bike, and then he goes somewhere else. And the idea is that we get this to spread. There's a high five chain, all going to happen all around Flintshire. Then on the Saturday, we've got a family event happening at one of our pantries, like free face painting. Bit of live music, and then at 3:00 we've got fire walking. So someone's going to come. We're all going to walk over hot coals. And then on the Sunday we've got a free family festival, live music. We've got like family Olympics. So we're going to do like the old community stuff. I remember doing it in school, three-legged, all that type of stuff. Get the whole community together, having fun. And then we're going to have like a holly fest, when they chuck, when they chuck the colour powder in the air? No. Never seen that. So check it out, man. It's like, it's HOLI. It's an Indian tradition. And basically you chuck, like, music comes on, you just chuck this colour powder. It looks amazing, and it's, we've done one before. It's really, really cool. And then, the idea is that we grow this every year. We want, at any given time, 60% of schools to be involved. Hundreds of sports clubs, and then we want to get some major sponsors that we can start turning this into a proper weekend festival.
Of course.
Free of charge. So we need to make it big, we need to make it sponsorable. We want world record attempts. Like, we're going for it.
You're going big.
Yeah, why not?
What's the point of doing it, boys?
And it's I just think that now, it's like, why not?
If there it's just, sorry to interrupt, but if there are people listening who would want to sponsor, like, how would they find you, or how would they find out how to sponsor?
When does this go out?
Probably a couple of 3 weeks, I'd say.
So it's going to be before. Yeah, so like the Grand Week in Wales happens on the 22nd of June.
In fact, not next Monday, the following.
Brilliant. Yeah, so there's plenty of time. So, if I can put my contact details on your post.
Yeah, of course. But even just if there's people listening,
just get in touch. So Google our company. So it's Kafkas CIC. That's spelled CAF Foxtrot Gas CIC. And then on there'll be emails. james@kafgas.co.uk.
Yeah.
We'd love to speak to people that can sponsor it, do a 1,000 challenge, and we could even come around and see your company during the week. So we're looking for companies that will sponsor it, and we'll come out and interview them, and they'll be part of the marketing that we do.
It's an amazing thing, mate.
Cheers, man.
I just want to say, like, thank you so much for sharing that whole journey. By the way, like you've had a ride, my friend.
yeah. It's been cool,
and it's really nice to hear that you're turning it into a really good thing and trying to do positive for the community, and also using your trade as well to try and, you know, have a positive effect, I suppose, in the community. So, like, mate, thanks so much for sharing your story.
No. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's nice to come back, you know, like talk about it out loud, and you know, hopefully it can inspire other people that are at the beginning of their journey, that, you know, there's always a way out. You just need to find yours, have faith, and just keep fighting. That's it.
Thanks so much, my friend.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.